Hi, Ian.
Hello.
Hi. So I'm really excited about today's episode because we've got a very special guest. Sudhanshu is joining us all the way from India. And I'm going to let Sudhanshu do a lot of the talking, but I just really want to give him a very brief introduction. I came across Sudhanshu when a friend of mine liked his post on LinkedIn, and he's created a human and AI crafted film about climate change. So today we're going to be exploring that with Sudhanshu, and we're going to be talking about AI and climate change and its motivations, and it's all very exciting. So I'm really pleased to have you here, Sudhanshu. So hello and welcome.
Hey, hi, Pema. Hi, Ann. Excited to be here.
Would you like to say a bit about yourself before we get started?
Sure, yeah. It's about me. I have been in the startup industry since the last 7, 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a filmmaker, just to clear it out to
Mm-hmm.
start with. So I'm a product manager by profession. So I've
Mm-hmm.
been into product in startups here in India and large startups here in India since the last 7, 8 years. Had a couple of startups of my own as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, some of my products are used today by over 2 million users
Mm-hmm.
across industries, across logistics, supply chain. Like some of my products are deployed in airlines as well. Uh, so that's a major part of me. But since the past 1 year, I've kind of taken a break to explore different industries. The first half of the year went into exploring climate sciences, exploring supply chain and the climate impact on it and how to make it more sustainable. Uh, I then took a few months to travel across the country and try to do a lot of experiments with whatever new has been coming up, right? So in the last 7, 8 months, I have been into the AI, the newer AI tools, Gen AI tools that have been coming up, and doing visual experiments. So I started with creating lot of newer visuals using Midjourney. But as I did that, I realized that it's not providing some sort of continuity. It's not giving I was having some visuals in front of me, but it was not creating a story.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I started using the AI video tools
Mm-hmm.
and started creating shorter movies.
Mm-hmm.
So but the thing started getting serious when I took part in a AI film competition just 3 or 4 weeks back, uh, and we delivered a film in 48 hours straight. So that was something that seemed magical and almost impossible to think probably a year back.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's how the interest came in, using AI to create stories that probably would not see the light of the day if
Mm-hmm.
not for the tools that we have today.
Wow, that's really amazing. That's really impressive that you did that in 48 hours. I mean, who would have thought, like, a few years ago or a decade ago, we'd be able to do that, right?
Yeah, even a year back,
Mhm.
it was unimaginable.
Mhm. Okay, that's really great. And I've got some questions for you. And just so we make our listeners aware, your film, you describe it as it's AI and human crafted. So our questions today will also be AI and human crafted. So there'll be a mix of both, just to keep up with the spirit of your film. But before we get into questions, are you able just to describe your film? And we will be sharing the link to your film in our notes, but if you're just able to tell our listeners a little bit about your film, that would be great.
Yeah. So okay, so the film that we would be sharing later is on the theme of climate change. Uh, the initially when I thought about it, I thought of creating it entirely using one of the earlier tools that I was using. But when I saw OpenAI Zora being launched last week,
Mhm.
I saw that probably the earlier tool that I would be using would be archaic, like in
Mhm.
a week, right? Like if this comes in. So, and they had some great clips on their site, which somehow all tied up in the theme of climate change.
Mhm.
So I thought of crafting it into a story with using some of the clips that I generated with another tool and
Mhm.
with Sora. into a movie, which would have some meaning. It would not just be, let's say, a short movie with some scenes and stuff
Mhm,
just for the sake of it. It should reach out to audiences to see the potential of AI, and at the same time, if people are amazed and with a message,
mhm,
uh, that would do the job. So generally, the messages that reach to people in an impactful way is the message that generates a shock as well,
mhm,
right? Uh, Climate change is something that people already know about. Probably they're not. Maybe right now they're not very serious about it, but using a tool like AI video and with a trend that Sora has created, I thought this could create a shock wherein people would like at least realize that climate change is a serious problem.
mhm,
In like obviously it was done in a very animated manner and stuff,
mhm,
but in that 1.5 minutes, it was able to deliver a message. So that was the objective.
mhm.
Yeah.
That sounds really great. I do want to get into some of the more technical details, but before we do that, I just want to understand what your motivations were for using climate change and climate science as a subject.
Sure. So I come from a part of India
Hmm.
wherein, like from my childhood, I've seen cyclone coming in every year or two. So earlier, when I was a kid, like a 5 year old, 10 year old, the cyclones were coming, like severe cyclones were coming, like every 3 years, every 2 years or so. Since the past couple of years, 10 years or so, it's like two cyclones every year, right? So that was something that I really connected to. So 2 years back, I joined a course, a climate change course by a relatively newer startup called Terra.do.
Hmm.
It's again like a global climate platform. So that actually gave me a lot of insights into how climate works, what's the climate science, what we can do, we as, let's say, tech professionals, how we can contribute and stuff. So that's how my climate journey began, like approximately 1.5 years back. uh, I tried to explore some of the initial ideas, like, let's say, creating a climate platform for supply chain companies to make them more sustainable and stuff. But that's something I realized probably not the right time to start now. Uh, and when I got into AI videos, I thought it should not just be something for entertainment. It should deliver a message, right? And climate was something that I related to closely. One of the first, like one of the top two, top three topics that I relate to closely. So that's where I decided, like, let's go with climate here.
Hmm.
And the clips that I saw from Sora, I couldn't find a single theme other than climate here. Like I thought of multiple other themes, but somehow all the dots just connected to climate.
Hmm.
So that's how I decided, let's take climate change as the theme here.
That's really great. That you feel motivated, but I also feel quite sad for you that you've been experiencing cyclones and the devastating impacts of climate change. It's quite sad that there are countries out there that really experience it more so than some of the other countries. And I think what you're doing is really inspirational to put this message out there. Um, so I do want to get into some of the more details about the movie. So you mentioned a couple of platforms. I think you said Sora and Runway and 11 Labs for visuals. Are you kind of able to explain to our listeners what those apps are and sort of how they work?
Yes. So is it okay if I start with the process, or you just want to move into the tools?
Yeah, yeah, your process would be great. We really want to understand your process.
Sure. Okay. So there's like two parts to it. One is for a shorter movie. So I'm currently following a 72 hours process, which I'm treating like a 72-hour marathon, right? Like, so the first 48 hours is when you kind of get a product, and the last 24 hours is when you kind of make it a finished product, right? So this process is aimed at the objective here is to have a product which appeals, which doesn't take a lot of time to create, but at the same time, uh, it's done at one stretch so as to like put like has to keep that continuity in the work, right? So what I do is, in the 72 hours, the first 6 to 8 hours is something where I'll flesh out a story, right? And again, like it's I go back to some of the things that I relate to or some of the themes that I've written earlier, right? I'll flesh out a story, I'll put out some characters and stuff. Then what I do is, again, like for some movies, you do a complete storyboarding. For some movies, where you already have, let's say, longer scenes, you would not go into storyboarding. You would just, let's say, do a rough storyboarding. For a movie which would need, let's say, a detailed storyboarding, so what I do is I just go to ChatGPT. I like chat with it regarding my story and give it some context, right? So once I give it some context, I tell him that act like a movie maker, like a blockbuster movie maker who has won, let's say, 10 Oscars, whose movie is watched by billions of people around the world, and ask ChatGPT to create a matrix for me with the scenes, with the camera angles, with the dialogues and stuff. Then it gives me a matrix, right? Now I have a storyboard of, let's say, somewhere around, for a 1.5 minute or 2 minutes movie, there would be, let's say, approximate 40 to 50 scenes, right? So ChatGPT would now give me a matrix with the scenes, with the camera angles, with the description of it, of the scenes, and if I, let's say, want subtitles for it, probably subtitles also. So yeah, so I'll like for in that way I'll just create a detailed storyboard. Now the next process is actually creation of the scenes, right? The visual scenes. Now let's say 6 to 8 hours is done. Like I'll probably have another 40 hours where I'll probably also sleep. So I'll all in all you'll have somewhere around 24 to 30 hours to do the visuals, right? So for that, what I do is like now that I have a sequence of shots, like sequence of scenes that I would want in a movie, I would go to Midjourney or like any of the other tools. I generally use Midjourney because I've been experimenting it with it since the last 7 8 months, uh, and I create really realistic images there. Like kind of upscale it. Now people have different tools to upscale, like Magnific, Upscaly, and all. I generally do it on Midjourney itself. Uh, then I take those scenes and put it in a video creation AI, which like for me, I use Runway. I've used earlier Pika Labs, Moon Valley, and stuff, but I think Runway is something that gives some sort of controllability in the tool. So I use Runway to generate some scenes. Uh, Now, once your scenes are done, uh, now you need a editor, like a video editor. Now again, Runway is not just a video creation platform, it's also like a complete suite of video editing and stuff. So I do my video editing on Runway itself. uh, Now for the scenes that I had generated, let's say 50 scenes, and let's say there would be 2 characters, 3 characters, or whatever, right? Like for those 2 3 characters you need some sort of voiceover. Now for voiceover I generally use 11 labs. Like let's say there is a female character, there's a old character, whatever, right? So they have like different sort of characters inbuilt. So I take those characters and I, let's say, I change modularity and this playback speed and all, depending on what kind of, let's say, a old man sitting quietly probably would have a slower voice. Someone who is very excited, old man again excited, probably would have, let's say, a faster voice, right? So you do those smaller changes in 11 labs. Then I put all of that in the Runway editing studio and done. Like that's how something is generated. Again, apart from that, you would also have some sort of background music, which I take from Epidemic. All of these are paid tools. Like I pay for those tools. You could also have some free tools like the free trial and stuff, but generally, like to create something professional, you need longer, like more credits, longer duration. So you probably have to pay for at least the starter packs. Uh, so yeah, so these are all the tools I generally use to create a movie. Like all editing is done in Runway. For this particular movie, though, the Climate Monster, because Sora already had a lot of clips, so I took clips from Sora's website. All again, like I generated a lot of clips from Runway itself, but a lot of clips was also taken from Sora. So so yeah, so that's how the movie's done. That's the process. And like this is the 48-hour process. Now the next 24 hours is when you like go into a lot of other details. You see if uh let's say for example scene 1 to scene 2 there's a sudden shift, so you go and like retrospect, like can I make it better, like can I introduce some motion effects here or whatever, right? So yeah, so that's how it's done. And again, I'm not a filmmaker as such, so so this is a trial and error method for me for right now. So I and the trial and error, I just wanted to reduce it to the 72-hour window. So yeah, so that's my process that I've been following since past couple of movies.
Wow. That is really fascinating, right? That uh, the process, and that you can do everything with AI.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the themes we are looking at is like connecting the AI with not just marketing and advertising, but also with something that, like, climate change is like really important, right? And it's really
Yeah.
good to see that happen, that people are using it for stuff like that. um so I was wondering, so far, since you put the movie out there, what has been the feedback? What have you received feedback wise?
Okay, so I actually didn't launch it on a lot of platforms right now. I did it on LinkedIn, and obviously the link is related to YouTube. So I think in all across all platforms, somewhere around 700 to 800 people have actually watched the full movie. And on LinkedIn, I've got a lot of messages. People who, let's say, want to use this for some other purpose. I, in fact, got a message from Epidemic Music themselves. Uh, People who want to use similar stuff to put their brand across, or like people who want to put some message across. And of course, apart from that, a lot of just like messages praising the work. Uh, but yeah, like right till now, it's been what, like 3 4 days or something. Like it's about people just seeing the possibilities of what we can create with AI. Like with a minimal effort, like what we can just like some magic that we just could be created probably in a day or two, right? So that's what people's feedback has been all about.
That's really amazing, and I do find this to be really inspiring as well, because you've taken something so personal and something that's impacted you, and created this movie using AI, and learning as you go as well. I think that's really really fascinating, and it's great that like 800 people have watched it, and hopefully a lot more will watch it. And there's a real interest. As soon as I saw your post, I was like, yes, I have to message Sudhanshu and find out more. And I'm glad you're here speaking to us today. So I've got another question for you. So can you share any specific moments or revelations during the filmmaking process that reinforced your belief in the power of AI to transform creative expression and advocacy?
Yeah, there's a lot of moments of shock all across. So this was probably the third complete short movie that I made, and in this one itself, like I had the process all over again, like where I was feeling like wow, like at the end of 48 hours, you'd be like feeling what, like we could just create this out of nothing. So and I'm again like repeating it, but I'm not a filmmaker, like someone who just has an idea probably 48 hours back, or a 24 hours back, a day back, right? Like now you have something in front of you which is watchable, which people can relate to, which people can understand. uh, is something that you could not think about. Like I don't have a cameraman, I don't have someone writing dialogues for me, right? I don't have someone, let's say, sketching for me or whatever, right? Like it's just someone sitting in like a lab rat or something, just sitting and creating something out of thin air, right? Like that's again a shock. And it's still shocking for me whenever I sit on, let's say, Runway or Mid Journey or something. uh, so yeah, that's that. Apart from that, I think just in terms of the quality of output, right? Like let's say I thought of a scene, a particular scene, that this is how it should be. And when it renders on, let's say, Midjourney or Runway, the and let's say it comes out really, really well, that's where you just feel that happiness, right? Like that's like so I'm a product manager. I've launched a lot of products like which like people use, right? But that process is again longer. It's not something which renders immediately or which is just completed in 24. It just takes time. Let's say a week or a two. Now here, like in some, you just render and it's and something like amazing is in front of you, right? Like so that's definitely a shocker and a revelation for me.
Hmm. So in terms of like, what does it mean for you, like going forward, right? That you can do these things, or and I notice you keep mentioning you're not a filmmaker, and you can create something that's pretty uh, put together. Like what do you think that means for you as a person, and with curiosity around AI and all of that?
Yes. So I'm someone who does a lot of thought simulation, and this is not something new. Like I probably got access to like a PC back when I was probably 11 years old, right? Since then, like I keep on thinking about ideas, and I let's just Google something and then do write something, like scribble something. Like for example, what if humans have green blood instead of red blood, right? Like this is just a thought simulation that you'd think of. Now with AI, like you could actually make something out of it, even if let's say it's not a movie, it's a blog, it's a doc, whatever, right? Like it's just an image, and you could put it out as easily as that. Like someone probably would take that image or that creation and probably could move forward and create something much more useful than I could, right? So that's what excites me. And just for this particular part, the movie part, I think I have ideas for next 1 year at least, where I will just keep on creating these concepts. In fact, I'll just give a teaser to one of the next movies that I'm doing. It celebrates in distant future, somewhere around 25th century, like humans have cracked time travel. And to celebrate 100 years, like 100 years after that, to celebrate 100 years of human time travel, humans are throwing a like a grand cosmic DJ party. And like a lot of important characters from human history have been invited to the party, like like Gandhi, Buddha, Sun Tzu, Machiavelli, whatever, like Alexander, whatever, like all have been invited to the party. So yeah, so this is this thought simulation that you do, and probably once you do this, a lot of other things start coming out. Like this could be shock factor for a lot of people, and they would take this and create even like bigger ideas, better ideas. For right now, for me, it's just like bringing my ideas to life, which were lying in my docs and whatever diaries, right, since past so many years. So yeah, and apart from that, like I have actually helped few brands to create some of their like ads, visuals, and stuff. So that's something that I was doing freelancing. But the primary thing is just putting your ideas to life. Right now, I don't care much about the eyeballs. It's just something that is experiment for me. So yeah, so that's what the plan is for now. I don't know 1 year from now. So for next few months, that's what I plan to do.
That
So,
sounds really, sorry,
sorry.
go ahead. I was just going to say that sounds really amazing, and then I'm going to pass to Ian.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say that you know, I got recently into DALI. I don't know if you're aware with
Yeah.
that
Yes. Yes.
GPT, like the visuals, and I'm just like, wow. And now, there's this other element. Oh, now you can take these pictures and actually create something like
Yeah.
connected. So this is really cool to hear. And also, I really like the idea of time travel. Your next movie, I'm already like keen to watch.
Yeah.
Is it going to be different this time around, your next piece?
Yes,
But
like I learned a lot since the last three movies, right? The fine easy of the movie making itself, the camera angles and stuff. So my prompts this time would be lot better. Of course, the dialogues I would like like to spend more time on it because last time I did it in a hurry. Uh, so yeah, so it should be better. Should be better. Yeah. I just secretly wish that I get early access to Sora. Uh, that would make the movie much better. But apart from that, also like we could, I'll create a better movie. Yeah.
Maybe someone is listening who works at Soda, you said?
Sora, yeah. OpenAI
Soda
Sora, yeah.
needs access.
Yeah. I hope so.
Give Sudhanshu access if you're listening, because things. So yeah, I'm really interested. You talked about you've learned a lot in this process, and another question I had for you is, what challenges did you encounter during the process of creating this AI-based film, and how did you overcome them?
Okay. So I think so I was again experimenting with a lot of these videos and stuff, but the real the game becomes serious when I again took part in that movie competition, right? Now because you had that 48 hours, like it was a 48 hours sort of a 48 hours hackathon to create it, right? So you didn't had much time for errors, right? Now you have to learn on the job. Now before this 48 hours I had never created a storyboard in my life, right? Like storyboard is essential to movie making. Now I didn't even knew about storyboarding, right? So I again interacted with the community in Runway and discovered storyboarding. Decided that let ChatGPT do it because I am not a movie maker again. I would not know how a storyboarding happens. Uh, so that was again something. So uh, because I don't know the art of movie making, right? Like there is this dialogues, there is voiceovers, there's background music. Now background music is not just one music. There could be multiple layers of music, right? Now all of those would have, let's say, different volumes to it. Then again the transition between scenes. Now if you have a complicated story, how will you, let's say, show some flashbacks of the previous part of the movie? All that needs to be typed in a way that people actually relate to, people feel engaged, and at the same time it should just be entertaining and fulfills whatever the objective. Like for example, my previous movie Karma Machine was not for a particular purpose. Like it was essentially sort of showing the visuals. It was talking about karma. uh, this time the objective was to like specifically focus on climate change, right? So the challenge with creating these short movies, 2 minutes 3 minute movies, is that uh, you need to have a like a really good, simple, a complex story depending on the topic, in a way that is engaging, right? Apart from that, there are a lot of challenges with the tools itself. Now uh like let's leave Sora out of the picture. The tools that we have today, that we can use today, Runway, Pika Labs and all, they generate like really shorter clips. They generate like 4 second clips, right? Now if you have, let's say, multiple 4 second clips in our 3 minute movies, like you'd just be switching between scenes, multiple scenes, right? Like just think of, let's say, a 3 minute movie, like you would have like 60 scenes. Right. So in that sense, it becomes really important to stitch the scenes in a way so that it doesn't feel, it's not a sensory overload on the viewer, right? Like it's not too many scenes for the viewer. So that's something again learned on the job. Apart from that, the dialogues itself, uh, the voiceover itself, the AI voice, whatever advancements 11 Labs or Lobo AI and guys have done, but still it's sort of robotic. It's like you have to manipulate a lot the platforms to give you the voices that like you wish for. Like for example, you have to like put in a lot of commas, like exclamation marks, like, and a lot of syntaxes in between to make it sound like real humans, right? So that's again something that like that was a challenge. So yeah, so this where the challenges like overall. Plus the fact that you are creating something in a short period of time itself was a challenge. But now 3 movies down, I'm like, yeah, like we can do this. Probably not even 72 hours. I could do this in 24 hours, right? So that's exciting, yeah.
So today I, was experimenting with TikTok, and there was a filter, a voice filter that really shocked me. So
Okay.
the video I was recording, it just mapped another voice on top of it. But the way the it was like my rhythm, the way I was speaking, but just with a completely different voice. And it's
Yeah.
just like shocked it's possible. Like, the things that are possible. It's just
Yeah.
insane. And what I'm hearing is like, yeah, it's like you have to experiment with how you get the person to sound human, like the narrator or something like that, right?
Yes. Yeah. So the voiceover, so there's two parts to it. One is, let's say, text to voice. The other is voice to voice. Probably the one that you are talking about is a voice to voice, right? Like you put in your voice and you want it to generate in some other voice, more like it's a voice modulation. For me, uh, the text to voice worked because for me, recording my voice for the voiceover and then putting into modulation is an extra work. uh Text to voice work for me better because like I have dialogues written out. I just put it in a tool and get the things done. Plus, uh if let's say I'm creating a movie for Western audiences, right, or let's say global audiences, my accent would be a lot more Indian if I do voice modulation. So it's
Well,
just bet.
so the weird thing was I sounded posh British suddenly. Like it changed the pronunciation. Like really, it was scary. It really creeped me out. I was like,
Nice.
"Oh, this is weird." So and but yeah, accents, right? Because we are so, like here's the thing: in the Western world, we are so used to our English accents, but actually, I feel like it's nice to hear someone from another part of the world speak with a different accent, and we get used to it because that's not okay, for us to, just to be exposed to American English or British English. It's nice to hear someone from India speak English.
Yeah. But if you see those platforms, you'd not find any other accent apart from, let's say, European accents or the US accent, right? Like, so that's probably something that they will solve for in the later months or later years. But right now, uh, for me, if let's say I'm creating a character which looks Western, right? Or let's say the scenarios, the scenes are Western, like I need to have a Western voice to it, right? I cannot use my own voice to modulate it. But at the same time, so if you see my background right now, so it's from one of my movies called Karma Engine. So the scene, a large part of it is in ancient India, wherein the terms used are, let's say, like karma, dharma, and all, right? Like now, if let's say I put that in 11 labs, it gives me an accent which probably doesn't justify the word. It should, just the particular part should be an Indian accent word, right? So that's something that is still challenging. I haven't solved for it yet, but probably I'll do cut paste here, probably voice model, like text to voice, voice modulation, then text to voice for this part. So yeah, let's see how does that work. But
Yeah.
I think yeah, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah, so the one that Anne was talking about in TikTok, right? So the tools, apart from the tools that I mentioned, right? In fact, TikTok's own models, like I'm not seeing the voice models. There was a very interesting like visual model from ByteDance, which was just before Sora. That was probably the best model I'd seen. Like it actually took in the objects and made it natural movement. In runway, I had to experiment. I had to literally say that move my hand in x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis, or move the water in x-axis and y-axis. Like you have to think a lot about the physics of the movement, right? Now with the, I think the tool was called Boximation or something by Dance. That became easier. Like where you just put in arrow and it would just think of movements of its own. Now obviously Sora took it to different level altogether. So yeah. So now like even think about it. Like this ByteDance launched it probably 2 weeks back. It's already archaic, right? Like it's already old. so so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a fast-moving world. But I just want to go back to what you said about accents, and I know I have an English accent when I'm speaking to you right now, but I am a brown person. Like my grandparents are from Kashmir, in
Okay.
Pakistan.
Okay.
So for me, it's really important also, when it comes to AI, because I have an AI startup also, where we're looking at using AI for lung cancer diagnosis and treatment. One of the biggest challenges is bias, and that's like already coming through. Like you didn't even have to talk about it for it to surface in the conversation we're having, where when you talk about the Western accent and the English and the American accent being the default, and words like karma not really taking on the meaning or the pronunciation that they should, right? So that challenge still exists, like even right now in 2024. So do you have any thoughts about that?
Yes, so that's one of the problems that I am like passionate about, and we'll look into this year. So the civilizational aspect of it, right? Like the models that has been made, the more it has been trained on the data, obviously the data that is available, and it's majorly Western, right? The data is majorly Western. They would obviously, let's say they OpenAI decides to make a model customized for India, the core data would obviously still be the data, the pre-trained data that I've trained on, right? And it's same for a lot of other like Silicon Valley based models, or even Mistral based in Europe, right? So that's definitely one of the challenges, wherein in the foundational model itself, when you train the data, you need those finer aspects of a particular civilization. For example, the Indian civilization, or let's say the Chinese civilization, like whatever, right? Like the Middle Eastern civilization, or even the smaller civilizations, like let's say Peruvian or whatever, right? So you need those finer details, people from those societies coming in and contributing to the synthetic data creation here. So so that's something that's a challenge, and I don't think anyone has solved really well till now. And that needs to be solved. Like that probably needs to be solved at a local level. See, that has been solved a bit on the NLP side, the text model side, but not on the visual side. For example, we have, let's say, a few large startups here in India, Servam AI and one from Ola called Kritim and stuff, who are making models on Indian languages, right? Like those are large LLM models on Indian languages, like 20 Indian languages, right? So they are solving for text, but not for visuals or even a multimodal model. Like if I have to talk about it, so that's definitely a challenge that people should start solving at least right now, and not, let's say, as an afterthought.
Mhm.
Uh, so one of the tweets that I did some time back, a professor actually went ahead and like involved Australian Aboriginals in training a like a speech model, right? So now they might have different sort of accents. Like let's say a group in Perth, like a tribe near Perth might have a different accent than a tribe near the southern coast of Australia, right? So those are something that needs to be done via ground, like done through people on the ground, right? So that's a problem that definitely needs to be solved, needs to be taken care, and should be solved now, since
Yeah.
like there's a chances of manipulation, like chances of manipulation increasing with models like Sora and stuff. We can talk about the AI models as well, like the challenges that the visual models are facing today, and that needs to be solved.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I feel like I could talk to you for hours, but I know that, we did say we were going to try and wrap up. So I'm going to ask you one more question, and then I'm going to
Yeah.
pass to Ian, and then we can kind of wrap up, if that's okay with you. So and I'm also going to ask you to guess at the end about the ChatGPT versus human questions. So my final question is, what ethical considerations did you take into account when using AI to create this film?
Okay. So the tools that I use, like Runway and stuff, already have some sort of inbuilt consideration, safety considerations. For example, you cannot show scenes with blood in it. Like you'll not have clips that would have some sort of blood spillage anywhere, right? Uh, so that was definitely one of the things that tools took care. But again, like we have tools like Midjourney where we don't have a lot of copyright issues today. That probably helps a lot of people to generate fancy things and have popular pop characters in it. Uh, but in terms of ethics, what I thought was I'll refer authentic text while creating something. For example, Karma Engine, right? When I created, I referred the text where karma is mentioned as a concept rather than just, let's say, thinking something of my own and putting it out. In fact, the quotes that I also wrote in the movie is from the original text, right? Similarly, for climate, I again refer to the climate materials from my course that I did to write certain quotes. Uh, so yeah, so that's something like just refer the original authentic text or sources and stuff. Obviously you could modify and give it your own test, but it should like it's like a research paper. Like you need to be ethical and give in sources from where you picked up things, and you need to do it in the right way, because like there's a lot of chances of manipulation here. Like I just create a concept and tell that it's my own creation, or like put in wrong ideas in the world, right? So that's something that I obviously didn't want to do. So yeah.
Wow. So, like Fema mentioned at the beginning, we're doing a little bit of a Turing test. So, and
Actually, you're doing Turing test, okay?
yeah, maybe Fema, you can go ahead and ask the questions.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to ask you which ones because we went through so many questions and the conversation was so engaging, but I'm going to ask you to guess how many questions out of all the questions I asked you were from ChatGPT.
Oh, okay, nice. Mm, maybe three.
Yes, it was three. Good job. Good
Okay.
Fail, fail. ChatGPT failed again.
guess. Yeah, great guess. Yeah, it was three. It was exactly three. Yeah, so but I just found your work so fascinating, and you as a person are really engaging. I didn't really need to feel the need to go through too many chat GPT questions, but I still felt for the sake of our podcast and the experiment I should ask at least three. So but yeah, I'm just because I just want to say for thank you so much for coming and speaking to us. Your film is great. Do you want to just tell our audience again what it's called so they can go and check it out? And we will share the links in the notes. Just give us the name of the film again for our
Yeah, it's
audience.
called The Climate Monster. You could just search it on YouTube and it'll probably appear in the top three results.
Yeah, it's a fantastic film. Everyone should check it out, and you've done a great job with it. And then Ian, do you have anything for Sudhanshu that you'd like to say before we finish?
Thank you for joining us today and participating. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks a
it's
lot for having me.
yeah, it's been really
Like, we
great.
learned a lot from you.
We've learned a lot from you, and it's been really great to have you on the podcast. And please do keep in touch. We're really looking forward to
Sure.
seeing your work in the future as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. I'm also excited to see what you guys bring up in the next few episodes.